Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Interventions and Detentions. It's another week. It's another talk. I'm still Brad. I'm here with you, folks. Thanks for tuning in again. Welcome back, like I said, to Interventions and Detentions. It's been a good week so far. We're halfway through doing this episode today. Going to try to do another one tomorrow. It's nice to stay ahead of the game sometimes if I can. This episode is called Leading Without Burnout. I feel like, you ever hit that time of year, and I think we're at that time right now, when even your coffee needs a little pep talk, or whatever your beverage might be of choice. You need a little pep talk. Where is the to-do list, where the to-do list grows even faster than the energy that you have to tackle it. And every email feels like an emotional ambush. You ever feel like that? Are you there right now? I'm right there. It's November in a school building, whether you're a teacher, a custodian, principal, secretary, counselor, cafeteria worker, paraprofessional. I think we're all feeling November. And we just had fall break a couple weeks ago, so it was nice. We had a nice long full fall break. It's nicer than having just a couple days off, but you're back at it, and it's the end of October, and then November is right here. And, thank goodness you've got Thanksgiving coming up a couple weeks out, and then you come back for a couple weeks, and you got Christmas. But then, talk about the true burnout. January, February, you know what that's like, folks, if you're in education. And I think it probably hits everybody in every profession. But for us, especially when you're used to kind of having some built-in breaks along the way, January and February is long. So I'm not really looking forward to those 2 months. It's dreary, it's dark, it's cold, but hey, here we are. We'll talk about that and lots of more things as we talk about leading without burning out. So let's try not to burn out today. Welcome back. Welcome back, baby. This show, this podcast is always about the real work of leading, teaching, staying human while doing both things, leading and teaching. And as I mention every week, this is where the real learning begins. So, like I said, we're talking about leading without burning out today, and I'm talking about the emotional load that comes with leadership. How to stay grounded when everything around you feels heavy, and how to reset sometimes before the weight of it all comes crashing in on you and just crushes you. We'll try to figure that out today. I'm not going to give you 5 quick tips or some kind of motivational quote or quotes today. Let's just talk honesty, because like I said, I'm there right now. I think. I'm in a good place. I'm not super stressed out, but it is November, December. You're just in the middle. I said today, like, we're on day 60, so we are now 1/3 of the way done with the school year. You stop and think about that for a minute. 1/3 done. So let's be honest today. Let's get it out on the table. The kind of talk that reminds you that you're not the only one feeling this way. That's what we want to talk about today. I know I'm not the only one out there. So sit back, relax, pour another cup of whatever it is you're drinking, and, maybe switch to water if you're already 4 deep. I don't know. Let's talk about what it really means to lead without burning out. All right. So there's a lot of people that, they don't tell you about what it's like being a principal. I've been talking a lot about this lately. Like, I talked to a buddy of mine that's a superintendent this week, and I said, think about going back to our first day in the classroom. Did anything that we did in our undergraduate work really prepare us for what it was going to be like in the classroom? And we both said no. It's a crash course once you start. You figure it out. He and I also did our master's program together, coincidentally, and I said the same thing. Like, did anything in you that, anything that we did in those college classes, the master's program for administration, did anything really help us on day 1 or 2 or 180 of that first year of being a principal? And we both agreed, no, you can take everything out of those books and teachers, instructors, and classes that we took. Okay, yeah, we learned some things that helped us out. I'm not saying we didn't. However, you learn by doing, and you learn by your experiences, and you learn by what you go through. Excuse me, sorry. Got a little frog in my throat. Those are the things that really kind of get you through and help you learn along the way. They tell you about budgets in those courses and those books. They tell you about discipline, they tell you about curriculum, supervision, but they don't tell you what it's like to carry the emotional load of an entire building. And that's probably one of the hardest things that you have to kind of figure out along the way is how do you deal with just the emotion, the stress that comes with being a leader of a building. Like when a student breaks down, you absorb it. When a teacher says, I can't do this anymore, you hold it close. When a parent unloads on you, you just take it because sometimes your job is just to sit there and listen and try to, be an emotional support for everybody else. And you do it all while smiling and encouraging and above all, leading. I remember a week last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, a day of just total chaos. We had, students roughhousing on the playground, tears in the teacher's lounge. I think I had a stack of paperwork that looked like it could file me. And I remember going home thinking that if I could just fix it all, I'd finally feel better. If I could just get these things done, I'll feel better. But then, I think it was like maybe Wednesday of that week, I don't know, maybe around 4:45, I walked down one of our empty hallways. Our building's not really big, so there's basically about 3 hallways, maybe 3.5. The lights were low, nothing on, nothing. It was quiet. You could hear the hum of the HVAC system. And that's about it. And I realized I wasn't just tired. I was kind of feeling empty. My tank was low. And I don't mean my belly tank. I mean my emotional tank. It was just kind of low. And that's kind of when it hit me. This job doesn't just take your time. I mean, it does take time, but it takes heart. It really, really takes your heart. Sometimes it even takes your soul a little bit. And there's a term for that. I'm not the coiner of this term, but I'm going to use it today. We're going to call it compassion fatigue. We lead with compassion. We lead with feeling a lot of times, and when we've hit that low, and you really don't have anything left and you're empty. That is that compassion fatigue. It's when you're carrying so much for so long that your capacity, your tank that you keep you're carrying with, it just starts to shrink. And what do we do when that happens? Principals and administrators, we feel this all the time. And I think sometimes we get a bad rap because, administrators, leaders of any kind I think people look at us like we need to be a little emotionless. But I feel like it's really the opposite sometimes. Usually the people that have the most emotion and caring go into leadership roles, especially principals in schools. Because you're supposed to be the calm one. You're supposed to be the anchor for the building. But anchors, think about this. Anchors will still rust if they stay underwater too long. So by golly, we got to come up for air every once in a while and not let our anchors rust. Because here's the danger. When we fake it to others with, like, I'm fine, I'm doing great, we actually create isolation. And isolation, friends, that turns into burnout. It really does. So you don't have to be unbreakable to be effective. You just have to be real. Just be real. If you're listening and you're feeling that weight right now, say it out loud, even quietly if you have to. It's okay to say it, and we need to say it. This work is heavy. This work is heavy. Naming it doesn't make you weak. Calling it heavy doesn't make you weak. It makes us be honest and open. And it's that honesty that's the first step to healing and making things better all the way around. It really does. It makes a big difference. So let's talk about staying grounded. How do we do that? Because the truth is, the job doesn't get easier. We always think like, I just get these tasks taken off my plate. The phone calls, the parent conferences, the teachers' tears, the rough housing, we'll get that done and then we're golden. And then it's like the cycle just repeats itself and starts back up again. It doesn't seem to go away. It's almost like that movie Groundhog's Day where he just wakes up and it's the same day over and over and over again. I wouldn't say my day's the same day every day. It's filled with some of the same tasks or the same kind of tasks. And I guess that's job security. I don't know. Thankful for that sometimes, not so much other times, but again, it keeps us busy. And like I said, the job doesn't really ever get easier, but it can get steadier. We can make it steadier because grounding for me really comes from the small things, like the morning quiet. I have about a 20 to 25-minute commute from my home to work, and that is a great time. Sometimes I don't have the radio on at all, just drive to school in the silence or the hum of my engine going down the road. I like that quiet time. There's no emails, no podcasts. Like I said, sometimes not even the radio. There's nobody's beside me to talk to. Sometimes it's coffee. Lately, it's Bloom Energy. Shout out to Bloom. Not an endorser, but by golly, I'm telling you, Bloom Energy is the stuff if you want to go to something good to get your day started right. Bloom Energy. And silence. Just the me, just the road, the countryside. Right now, we just had daylight savings time fall back with our clock, so I'm getting a little bit of daylight again on the drive in, but that's not going to last long. But I do just, I don't know. The drive in the morning for me is that grounding. It helps me get off to a really good start, good mood kind of thing to start my day. I don't ever feel like I go in cranky or grumpy or upset other than maybe just, from being tired or not getting enough sleep. But I really enjoy that morning quiet. And I think a lot of people kind of find their resolve there. I'm glad I've got that 20 to 25-minute drive. I think if I had 5 minutes, I'd feel way rushed and not have that time to kind of emotionally get set, get grounded, and think about my day. I do a lot of time reflecting on the way in. And just conversations that I have in my head, or maybe meditation, sometimes prayer. It just depends on what I'm feeling that day. But it is such a great way to get grounded, that morning commute. Sometimes I'll get to school, walk around the office or the hallways. I'll see the kids coming in and just enjoy seeing the kids being kids, hearing their laughter, the chitter chatter from the bus that they're carrying on. And it's just those little things that helps remind me why I'm here and why I'm doing what I'm doing. It kind of gets me back to that why. And listen, you don't need perfect routines. Like, the morning routine's not perfect by any means. You just need rhythm. I like thinking of it that way. You just need some rhythm. Think of a good song or good music. You need rhythm. Routines, in my opinion, are something that are really set and rigid. Now, I'm not saying like in a school setting, you don't need routines and procedures, because that's how you find success with, just your culture, I think, with your kids. Routines and procedures, by golly, that's a whole another episode we could talk about. But just for your life in general, I know there are some people that thrive on that routine and that schedule and stuff, but don't make it so rigid that it just, I don't know, ties you down. Rhythms, that they flex when life happens. Rhythms flex when life happens. And I think that's when things become a little more manageable, when you think about it as a rhythm versus routine. One rhythm I've learned is that end of day decompression. So we talked about the morning start and how that kind of helps me get excited, get geared up for the day, to look forward to what's coming ahead. But then after the minutia of the day, the phone calls, the emails, the behavior issues maybe that you're dealing with, or the lunch line's not moving fast enough, whatever it is, you need that decompression at the end of the day. And that can look different from each of us. Things that I like to do before I leave is I just, either sit or stand for a couple minutes. Lately, I've been standing. I've got a rolling cart, standing up desk that I use for teacher observations and things like that. So I'll stand there, sometimes at my computer, sometimes kind of check an email. Sometimes I just sit down and just take a couple deep breaths, just for a couple minutes. No phone, no walkie-talkie, no radio, just breathing, just kind of thinking about the day. That pause helps create a mental door for me between school and going home, because I don't like to bring school into home. I feel like I'm getting better at that over the years. it's hard not to sometimes. I've never been really one to talk about work unless there's just some really eventful things that have happened in the day, like to come home and tell Sherry or the kids, like, you won't believe what happened today. A lot of times I'll either suppress it or just leave it in that office, in that chair while I'm decompressing for a couple minutes and breathing. I don't know. I just never been one to really want to rehash my life's events or my day's events unless somebody really wants to hear them. I think part of me feels like nobody wants to hear them, so why did I want to share them with somebody? Yeah, I just kind of leave it, and it's there for me when I come back the next morning, or it's just gone forever. You know, the boundary piece for me is the hardest piece, and I've mentioned this before in other episodes. Because staying grounded isn't just about balance; it's about boundaries, and I am not very good at setting boundaries, or if I do set them, I'm not very good at keeping them. Shout out to Sherry, because I know she will. If she's listening to this episode, she's nodding her head and just grinning a little bit because she knows exactly what I'm talking about. Being available as a leader doesn't make you a better leader. It makes you a drained one. And for me, that's just an internal struggle. Like, I don't like having unopened emails in my inbox, or text messages, or things on my calendar. Any of those things. Like, I'll be on my phone tonight checking in on email. Like, I get the notification banner that pops up on my phone, like, you got an email. So then I go check it and read it. Sometimes I almost hate opening things because then I do forget to go back to it in the morning if I don't act on it in that moment. So that's another downfall of mine. But I know that I'm way too available to my constituents. Let's just call it that, my people. And I don't mind it personally. Like, I don't have a problem with it, but I know that it bothers other people around me. It bothers my wife, my kids, because it's, again, taking time away from them. And I've talked about that before, and I know that's my fault. I have a hard time just like putting my phone down somewhere and walking away from it and being unattached to those availabilities for people, I guess, the emails, the text, whatever it may be. So, you can't always be the person who answers every text, every parent email, or every knock on your door in the office and still expect to lead with some type of clarity. It sounds good, I know, but you can't do it. And again, this is where I struggle, and probably why I don't always have a lot of clarity, because I'm so focused on being available. And like I said, I'll say this, and it's my downfall. I'm the one who answers those texts and emails or whatever it is. I make myself available. I almost feel bad when I don't respond to those kind of things in a timely manner, because I don't want people to think like I'm avoiding them or putting them off or being rude for not jumping right onto their text or emails and responding. Being accessible and being available are two different things. One sustains you. The other one, in my opinion, slowly erases you. And that's where the struggle for me is. Now, humor, I feel like humor in education, it saves lives in education. And luckily, I feel like I'm a funny guy. I thrive on being witty, making people laugh. I love to make people laugh. I make fun of people and their laughs. Shout out to Mrs. Alexander, my school counselor. She has one of the most infectious laughs when you get a good zinger and it catches her off guard and she LOLs. And I mock her because I love her LOL. But I love that humor. And to me, I don't think I could survive my day without laughing, or the humor piece. I think I like to make other people laugh more than anything. Maybe I kind of thrive on that. If I can laugh at something, even if it's myself, which I'll laugh at myself. You hear me chuckle here sometimes when I'm talking about something. It just kind of helps me get my perspective back into place. You've got to give yourself permission to find joy in all the absurdity that is happening around you. You know what else keeps me grounded? And this is so true for me. People. People keep me grounded. And it's not the ones that always need me to be Mr. T, which is me at school. It's the ones that they just let me be Brad or dad or son or brother. That's my people, my tribe, I like to call them. Whether it's a colleague, a mentor, family member, friend, you gotta find someone who understand that this job of being a principal and being a leader, it's this job's emotional language. We need to find somebody that can understand that emotional language and somebody that we can connect with. And I'm lucky to have several people that I can do that with, not just one. The more that you have, the better. And it's not optional. It's what you need to have to survive in this position, because I think it's those people who don't have their tribe that they can bounce thoughts and ideas and just feelings off of. They drowned. They drown in this position and in this field. So maybe that's your challenge this week for those of you that are listening that are, in a leadership role, principal, and it could even be teacher or just somewhere in the classroom at all. The challenge could be find one small rhythm this week, not a routine. Find a rhythm that makes you feel a little more human again. Okay? Connect with something, with somebody, find that rhythm that makes you feel a little more human again this week. Maybe it's silence. It could be silence. It could be laughter. Whatever it is, find it and protect it. Hold it close to you. Okay? That's your goal for this week, folks. So there's a difference between being tired and being empty. And I'm tired right now. It was a long day. I'm not quite empty yet, thank goodness, but I'm getting there, I think. Tired means you need a nap. You need to take a little sleepy sleep, get some rest, cat nap, whatever it takes. Just don't do that in your office, please. That's not probably a good thing, and HR might frown on that. Tired means you need a nap. You need some sleep. Empty means that you've been giving without refilling. It is Thanksgiving time, folks. It is November, but we can't give so much of ourselves without putting something back in. It's like a gas tank. You get down to empty. If you don't fill up, you're not going to go very far, very fast. So, I've hit empty more than once. And here's a time that kind of stands out in my mind. Going way back to 2003. We'll jump in the time machine for a minute. First year principal, last bus pulled out for the day. The building went quiet again. And I just sat there. No celebrations, no relief either. Just what I would say is spent. I mean, you know what that word means and how you feel when you say, like, I'm just spent. I have nothing left to give. Nothing. No emotion, no time, no spirit, whatever. I just have nothing left. I'm done. I'm drained. And that's when I learned this. Resets don't happen by accident, okay? You have to make them happen. Maybe you even have to schedule them, okay? You have to be purposeful in your resets. Resets can be small things like leaving work on time once a week, making that something that you do once a week. Maybe it's every Wednesday. You're going to get out of there on time, not answer the phone, not respond to one last email. You are going home out the door when you should, okay? It could be listening to music on the drive home that has nothing to do with school. I like talk radio sometimes, so I turn into our local talk radio and just sometimes I'm not even really paying attention to what they're talking about or what they're saying. It's just that voice that I kind of like. It helps me recharge a little bit. It might be taking a walk before you walk into the house. Maybe, go get the mail, take a quick lap around the block or down the street or out on that county road that you live on and just, kind of reset so you don't bring it into the house or to the family. They can be big resets too, and I think these are important to do every once in a while too, like maybe a weekend getaway with you and the wife or you and the fam. If you're near a lake, go out on the lake. I love spending time on the lake. I used to do it a lot more than I do these days. But that was always a good place for me to reset and kind of recharge. It might be a day, with the family where the phones stay behind or in the house and you're outdoor playing some games or even just working in the yard together. Whatever whatever your version of reset looks like, it's not selfish. Don't ever think of it as being selfish. It's strategic. That's the one thing that could be a routine, planned, rigid kind of thing, is just keeping time in your life for a reset. Everybody needs it. Okay. Think about that. And maybe a second challenge for you through this podcast episode: find time to mandate a reset so you can recharge. Because if you don't take time to reset, your body will do it for you, but not in the way that you want. It's going to do it through things like burnout, irritation, health problems, whatever it may be. You'll shut down one way or the other. So please, people, do it on your terms, not your body's terms. I'd hate to see something bad happen to people. I've seen people in this field of work with, heart attacks, mental breakdowns, and things like that. It is not worth it. It's just a job at the end of the day. It's just a job. It's your calling. I get that. It's my calling. It's what I want to do. It's what I've wanted to do. But it's still just a job. And at the end of the day, your life, your health, your mental well-being is so much more important than any job ever. So please take time to reset and recharge, because like I said, if you don't, your body will do it for you, but not in the way that you want it to happen. So one thing you can do is keep your own personal reset checklist, maybe 3 small things that you can do in the middle of the week, maybe a bigger one every month. Just something that helps you stay on track, clear your head, get refocused. Again, for me, it's lake time, I think, would be my go-to one. I got to do that this summer a little bit more. For the past 10, 11 years, our schedules in the summer have been very busy, and with our girls and things like that. And I used to go to my brother's house and we would water ski, wakeboard, even some barefoot every once in a while, every Saturday, Sunday morning. And I loved that. And then I just kind of got out of it. Part of it was for my own health reasons. I'd put on some weight and it wasn't as fun as it used to be. It felt like more work than it was fun to be drugged behind the boat. I think one time I felt like I was going to drag the boat instead of the boat dragging me. But I'm trying to find that rhythm again, that recharge, because I love being in the water. I love having a ski strapped to my foot and the ski rope handle in my hand, and the acceleration of the boat and coming out of the water, and just the exhilaration of that is amazing. Endorphins pumping throughout your body. So I want to make that goal to get more lake time in over the next few years. And if it's not the roar of the boat, sometimes it's just the quiet calmness of the water. Because at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning on the lake, everybody else is still in bed from being out the night before. We're out there on the water, and it is so calm when there's no other boats. You're the only one out on the water. The water's like glass, like a mirror, and it's quiet. There's no dings or of notifications of your phone. And it's just, to me, the reminder that the world is still spinning, even when I stop checking email and text. It is funny how the world keeps going around, even if I take a pause and enjoy myself for a few minutes. So maybe that's your sign too, that you need to pause, to breathe, just every once in a while. Whatever it is that you want to do. For me, let's focus on some more lake time next summer. Not right now, because the lake be cold. You got to remember that leadership doesn't mean that you've got to carry everything. I know it feels like that a lot of times. I told somebody the other day, being a principal, being a leader, being administration is a very lonely position sometimes. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't mean that you've got to carry everything. It just means that carrying enough to take care of yourself in the process. So don't forget to take care of yourself. Maybe that's kind of the underlying theme of this episode. So here's where I'll leave you. You can't lead well if you're running on fumes. You can be strong and still struggle. You can care deeply and still protect your peace. So in this week or the week ahead, I double dog dare you to take 5 quiet minutes sometime and ask yourself, what part of me have I been ignoring so that I can take care of everyone else? What am I giving up putting aside and ignoring so I can take care of everybody else and put out the fires of the day-to-day routine? Whatever that answer is, give it some time this week, because the people that you lead all day long, they don't need a perfect version of you, even though I know we feel that way sometimes. They don't need that perfect version of you. They need a present one. They need you to be there. You need to show up for them every day. So I'm going to leave you with that. Be present, show up, reset, recharge. Think about all those things. Take that 5 minutes this week and just do some reflection. We want our teachers to reflect on what they do in the classroom every time. So I'm going to challenge you, leaders, and you, school employees, to take 5 minutes just to reflect on your own well-being as a school person, staff member, teacher, secretary, custodian, cafeteria worker, principal, bus driver, whatever it is that you do in a school or in your daily life. Take 5 minutes and reflect on what it is that you can do to just be present for your people. Not be perfect, but be present. So as always, I'm your host, Mr. T, Big B Rad, as I like to be called sometimes. Take care of yourself this week. Take care of your people. I'll see you next week with another episode of Interventions and Detentions. I like saying that. Interventions and Detentions, but I like saying this even more. It's where the real learning begins. See you next time, folks. Have a great week.